The Morag Tong are the famed assassins of Morrowind. They wear their chitinous armor with style and hunt down any target relentlessly. If you have seen the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind trailer, then you have seen a Morag Tong assassin take a target down in cinematic glory. But if you don't really know much about them, never had the chance to play Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, then here are 5 facts about the Morag Tong, just for you. Fact number 1, the Morag Tong are a cult of Mephala worshipping assassins. If you saw our 5 Mephala facts video, you would know that Mephala is the Daedric prince of lies, sex, murder, secrets, and plots, so it's easy to understand how a cult of her followers would become assassins. During the First Era, at the time of the Chimer exodus from the Somerset Isles, Mephala would teach them how to evade their enemies and eliminate them with conspiracy, secret plots, and murder. This, along with the teachings and guidance of the other Daedra, Boethia and Azura, would guide the Chimer to Morrowind and help them forge a legacy that would not be forgotten by the minds of those in Tamriel. A small faction of these Chimer continued to follow Mephala's way very closely, and these Chimer became the Morag Tong. Fact number 2, Morag Tong assassinations were legally sanctioned. The Chimer were an argumentative bunch, and sometimes these arguments escalated to conflicts of a grave nature, resulting in potential war and fighting. They wanted to be avoided, so what the Chimer would do is seek out the Morag Tong to offer them money in exchange for their services. The Morag Tong would perform an honourable execution, which is officially sanctioned, meaning that they can legally murder someone they have been paid to murder. When given a contract, the Morag Tong prints legal bills called a Writ of Execution. The purpose of these is integral to how a Morag Tong assassin completes his work. You see, if you were a Morag Tong assassin sent to kill a Dunmer merchant in Vivec, you could follow him to his house at night and kill him in his sleep. Immediately after, you would find a soldier or guard, confess to the murder, and present the Writ of Execution. Then the murder charges would be excused. This is mainly to avoid any long-term ramifications or suspicion of illegal activity. The Morag Tong executioners will even seek out authorities and confess to the murder, even if it would have most likely remained a mystery. Though this writ of execution excuses them for the murder itself, other crimes committed are not excused, like secondary killings or theft. One of the functions of the Morag Tong as a legally sanctioned assassination guild is to prevent all-out war between the great houses of Morrowind. When one house assassinated a councillor of another house and the mother of the councillor wants revenge, instead of going to war with the other house, she would instead employ the Morag Tong to assassinate in revenge. However, the Morag Tong is a neutral third party and will accept a contract from any side of conflicts. Fact number 3, the Assassin's Guild that you are probably more familiar with is the Dark Brotherhood, but did you know they originated as a splinter faction of the Morag Tong? This group obviously didn't like the strict internal laws and governing of the Morag Tong, so instead split away and became a death cult, worshipping Sithis instead of Mephala. They also adopted the Night Mother as their matron. Many believe that the Night Mother is in fact just another aspect of Mephala, but that is another video in itself. Unlike the Morag Tong, the Dark Brotherhood is completely illegal in all their activity, and the murders were not motivated by money or altruism, but instead for the art of death itself. Fact number 4, you may think that the Dark Brotherhood are top shit at the end of Skyrim because you killed the Emperor, but did you know the Morag Tong were killing emperors before it was made cool? The Morag Tong would end one of the greatest dynasties in Tamriel's history. Emperor Riemann Cyrodiil III was the descendant of the original Riemann Cyrodiil, who forged the Second Empire in the First Era and a dynasty that would conquer all of Tamriel except Morrowind. But this dynasty would come to an end when Riemann Cyrodiil III would be assassinated by the Morag Tong at the order of his advisor Versailles. Versailles assumed control of the empire for hundreds of years as the Morag Tong expanded their operations, but funnily enough, this all came full circle when Versailles himself was assassinated in Senchal elsewhere by the Morag Tong. The Morag Tong at this point had gotten so cocky that they drew the name Morag Tong across the wall in Versailles' own blood. Though this might not have been the best decision, since after this it made all the nobles and lords of Tamriel become fearful of their own assassination, so everyone was out to destroy the Morag Tong. This is where historians generally agree that the Dark Brotherhood rose to prominence while the Morag Tong went into hiding. Fact number 5, after the eruption of Red Mountain, the Morag Tong disbanded and split up, vowing to reform the Morag Tong again. At least this is what Raven Emayan of the Thieves Guild says, who was a former member. However, by the events of the Dragonborn DLC, we can see that at least part of the Morag Tong have reformed, because there is a group of Morag Tong assassins being led by Vendil Ullin. It is unknown whether these Morag Tong themselves are a splinter faction or whether it has been properly reformed with a central leader. It would be interesting to find out what happened to the most famous of Morag Tong assassins. Perhaps the island of Valnara would be a good place to look. You see, the most legendary Morag Tong assassins who could not continue their duty were sent to the island of Valnara, more than a month's voyage away from Tel Arun. Here they would retire in peace. Perhaps in the next Elder Scrolls we will see them in all their glory. I am begging Bethesda to make the Morag Tong a joinable faction. Subscribe for more sensational facts about the Elder Scrolls, as well as videos tackling the big questions like what is the strongest Daedric artifact and who is the oldest mortal. Share and like the video, we really appreciate it. I'm Scott from FudgeMuppet and I'll see you next time.